Linguistic trends on the packaging of green tea in relation to the economic status of its target audience. So the aim of this study is to conduct the research and show that any discrepancy between how a tea brand communicates with its target audience in relation to the target audience perceived economic status. For the justification of the study, tea has a rich history and is consumed by a large variety of people. Green tea is said to boost metabolism and contains caffeine, which means that a lot of different people will buy it for different reasons, and there's a lot of writing on the packaging so that there's more information to analyze linguistically. The different literature that I looked at was one by Friedman and Jurafsky, which is a very similar study to the one that I'm doing right now on tea, but using potato chips. They found that potato chips that were more expensive were using more advanced language and had more of an impact on health, and that the cheaper brands were talking more about being homey, using like a more Americanized language, and also that they had easier language to understand. Both the Glantz et al. And Miller articles were talking about the US and why people buy what they do, what they look at, and it found that people who were paying more money for things were looking more at the nutritional value, health issues, and that people who didn't have those monetary resources were just looking more at the price. For research questions, when comparing two groups of green tea, more expensive brands and less expensive brands, is there a significant difference in the number of words used on the box? And I thought there might be more words and more descriptive words on more expensive tea. The second question is, between these two groups, is there a significant difference in the lexical density or readability of the text? And again, I assumed that the more expensive brands would have a higher lexical density. And is there a correlation between the most frequently used words on a box of tea and the cost of the tea? For this question, I thought that more expensive brands might use more health words and words related to where the tea came from, exotic words, and that a less expensive brand might be more descriptive in how to use the tea and might talk about the origin of the brand more than the origin of the tea. For methodology, I used 10 different brands of green tea and only took tea that were sold in boxes and had tea bags and were available in the Athens, Ohio area, which is where I live. And then I divided the tea into two groups based on the price per ounce of the tea. For materials, you can see these are my 10 different brands of tea that I used. I also used an online text analyzer to get the lexical density, number of words, and most frequently used words, and I also used SPSS to process my data. And you can see here is the procedure. I just input the text straight into the text analyzer and it came out with my outputs. Then I put those different values into SPSS after already dividing the different brands into two groups. Through SPSS, I was able to find the means of the number of words and the lexical density, as well as the standard deviation and the range. And then I looked at the similarities and differences in these statistics between the two groups. This data was qualitative in that it was linguistic data, but I turned it into quantitative data in order to draw the conclusions that you will see shortly. The limitations of the study were the number of brands that were available. 10 is a very small sample size, especially when I switched it into 2 groups of 5. And there were also time constraints on this project, preventing a larger and more representative sample that would include more brands from different stores. Here's the raw data. You can see the brand, words, lexical density. The brands on the left are the higher priced brands, and the brands on the right are the lower priced brands. For the more expensive tea, the mean was 182, and the less expensive teas, the mean was 265.8. So you can see here that the more expensive teas actually used a lot less words than the less expensive teas. In terms of lexical density, for the more expensive teas, the mean was 66.8, and for the less expensive teas, it was 56.6, meaning that the more expensive teas had a significantly higher average of lexical density than the less expensive teas. And here you can see the most frequently used words. I took words that were used 4 times or more on the box. Most of them, tea and green, were used. There were also 5 of them that used the name, or 6 of them that used the name of the brand. And then there were words like organic and natural that also popped up, but there was no significant trends in which words were popping up depending on how expensive the tea was. In conclusion, the more expensive teas have a higher lexical density, meaning that the reading level is higher, inferring that companies are thinking that people who are going to buy more expensive teas also have a higher level of education. The less expensive teas use more words, possibly because they can't rely as much on different certifications or buzzwords such as organic to sell their product and might need to be more descriptive, and that there is no significant difference in the most frequently used words between more expensive brands and less expensive brands of tea, which I found surprising, but looking into the data more, there might be more trends that I missed. And that is all. Thank you for watching.